Hey there, movie viewers. Well, I haven't done one of these for a while, so given the holiday season, I thought I would review my all-time favorite Christmas movie. The Muppet Christmas Carol.
Remember,
You're a wizard.
on second thought, let's not go to camera.
One whole week.
Still princesses.
Time travel. Easy wish.
Look, it's Ebenezer Scrooge, looking older and more wicked than ever. I knew he wouldn't disappoint us.
Who are you?
In life, we were your partners, Jacob and Robert Marley.
It looks like you. But I don't believe it.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing can affect them. A slight disorder of the stomach can make them cheat.
I mean, honestly, come on, how could you not love this movie? It's a combination of Charles Dickens' timeless story of A Christmas Carol and the Muppets! How can you go wrong? But aside from the awesomeness of the Muppets telling the story of A Christmas Carol, this is actually a really good telling of the story. It simplifies the story for kids and yet stays true to the original story, very rarely resorting to the goofiness or the slapstick humor that the Muppets are usually known for. And that's not to say that there isn't a lot of goofiness and slapstick humor in this movie. I mean, it is the Muppets, but it's well timed and the placements are not bad. So one key difference between this movie version of A Christmas Carol and the other movie versions that I've seen is the narration. Some movies might have narration at the very beginning of the story to establish that Marley is dead, or at the very end of the story to tell us what happened to Scrooge afterwards, but usually not a lot in between. And when it comes to narration in movies, I'm kind of the all or nothing opinion. It should either be throughout the entire movie or you shouldn't have it at all. This movie, however, has narration through almost the entire movie, and narrated by Charles Dickens, no less.
Hey, wait a second. You're not Charles Dickens.
I am too.
No, a blue furry Charles Dickens who hangs out with a rat.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, this is where we get the majority of our slapstick humor. But it works because it's evident that Charles, is taking the story seriously. Or at least he's trying to, except that Rizzo keeps interrupting him with his desire for food or to know what's going on.
How do you know what Scrooge is doing? We're down here and he's up there.
I keep telling you, storytellers are omniscient. I know everything.
Hoity-toity, Mr. Godlike Smarty Pants.
Also, apparently Dickens is omniscient, but not omnipotent, meaning that he knows everything that's going on, but he's often held back by things like closed doors. And so a lot of the humor is just from watching Gonzo and Rizzo try to keep up with the story and go to extreme lengths just to keep up with Scrooge and his ghostly travels.
What are we doing?
Nothing.
What?
Well, just hold on.
What?
Now you'll recall I did say pretty much the whole narration, but they don't actually narrate everything. There is one section of the story that they don't narrate, and that's the future. And this is actually a really smart move on the part of the movie makers.
You're on your own, folks. We'll meet you at the finale.
Yeah. Oh.
Removing Gonzo and Rizzo from this point of the story serves two purposes. One of them probably intentional, and one of them maybe not, but I'm going to assume that it was. First, of course, it takes away that element of goofiness at the point of the story that needs to be taken the most seriously. But second, it also underlines the fact that this is the future, it's the unknown, and therefore, we're not going to have narration for it. We're not going to tell you what's going on, because it's mysterious. And it lends to the tension of some of the scenes by not having Charles Dickens interrupting to tell a portion of the story, or having Rizzo interrupting to complain about being hungry. And I think that's honestly what sets this movie apart from the other versions. Obviously it was meant for kids, and obviously there's puppets telling the story, but they take the telling of the story and their audience seriously. And even though there's a lot of goofiness and slapstick humor, they don't let that carry the movie. They let the story carry the movie. Which, come on, it's Charles Dickens. Of course you're going to let the story carry the movie. And despite the fact that half the characters are talking animals or talking vegetables or something strange, the story still elicits an emotional response. And I think there are actually two scenes in this movie that are done better than almost every other movie version I've seen. The first is the scene with the Marleys. Yes, you heard right, Marleys plural. Instead of just Jacob Marley, we have the Marley brothers, Jacob and Robert, portrayed by Statler and Waldorf. What I like about the scene is that the Marley brothers are not just acting like ghosts, they're acting like themselves. That is, they're acting the way that they did in life. And not only does this give Scrooge something to relate to and connect with these characters, but it's Statler and Waldorf, and they're hilarious.
More of gravy than of grave. What a terrible pun. Where do you get those jokes? Leave comedy to the bears, Ebenezer.
And yet this still comes off as a fairly spooky scene just in seeing how frightened Scrooge is. And the second is the graveyard scene at the end, which unlike a lot of the other versions actually has subtlety. This scene is actually subtly unnerving, not because of any atmospheric effects or immediate danger to Scrooge, but just because of the power of the scene itself and Michael Caine's acting ability. And of course it's Michael Caine, and he is brilliant. It's by far the best movie version of this scene that I've seen anyway, and I think there's a kind of irony to the fact that it's the Muppets that seem to have gotten it right. I watch this movie every year at Christmas time. I absolutely love it. The humor is great, the music is great, Michael Caine is great, and of course the Muppets are great. This is definitely still one of my favorite movies, and it's my all-time favorite Christmas movie. So thanks for watching. Make sure to stay tuned a little closer to Christmas time when I'll be uploading a very special holiday edition of Books vs. Movies reviews. See you then.
Nice story, Mr. Dickens.
Oh, thanks. If you like this, you should read the book.